Haven't you sensed it, deep within your soul, like a frequency only your spirit could hear? There has always been a fire, an unshakable awareness that you were not born for the ordinary. You have walked through years where words failed you, yet a hidden certainty pressed against your heart, whispering that your life was marked to shift atmospheres, to pierce through darkness, and to carve light into places others feared to tread. That intuition was never random, it was God's own breath inscribed into your being, the divine blueprint etched into your very DNA, as Jeremiah 1:5 declares. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Yet ask yourself, if God Himself designed your path, why has life so often felt like a battlefield where the enemy sought to crush your spirit? Doubt has wrapped around you like heavy chains. Fear has whispered relentless lies about your worth, and betrayal has pierced deeper than any sword. And yet, against all odds, you endured. No, more than that, you overcame. Like carbon under earth-shattering pressure, becoming a diamond, you emerged radiant. Isaiah 54:17 affirms, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." This is not just poetry, it is your lived reality. You are walking proof that heaven's promises stand unbroken even in the darkest storms. But what does it mean to have passed the test? Does it not imply that you have already proven your faith, your strength, and your heart before the throne of heaven? Every moment of silence, every night of weeping, every tear shed in solitude became part of your initiation into greatness. Consider Joseph, betrayed by his own blood, thrown into a pit, and forgotten in prison. The world branded him defeated, but God saw him destined. Each setback was not destruction, but construction, a chiseling of his character, until he stood in Pharaoh's palace as a ruler and savior of nations. In the same way, what you thought was abandonment was God's classroom. What you thought was pruning was preparation. Psalm 23:4 reminds us, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." You walked through the valley, chosen one, and you came out carrying light. Now pause. Why would God allow such fierce trials only to raise you higher? Could it be that the very pain you endured was heaven's way of refining your vision so you could lead with clarity others do not possess? Even modern voices echo this truth. The famed painter Vincent van Gogh once said, "Normality is a paved road. It's comfortable to walk, but no flowers grow on it." Your suffering was never meant to make you comfortable. It was meant to cultivate gardens in places where the soil seemed barren. The paradox is simple. What crushed others only cultivated you. Yet every story of light must also speak of shadows. For if the chosen rise, so do the enemies of their destiny. History gives us its villains as warnings. Nero, the Roman emperor who unleashed terror upon early Christians, believed he could extinguish the flame of faith with persecution and bloodshed. Yet his cruelty consumed him, and his name is remembered not for glory, but for madness. Do you see it? Those who wage war against God's chosen inevitably destroy themselves. Their rise is brief, their fall eternal. Proverbs 11:21 assures us, "Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished." And so, here you stand on the threshold of something greater. Chosen one, you did not just survive. You were sculpted by divine hands for a purpose the world has yet to fully see. Your trials were symphonies of heaven's discipline, every note designed to strengthen your faith. But now the baton changes. A darker chapter awaits, not to destroy you, but to test whether you will wield your authority or surrender it. Can you sense it, the silence before a storm? The tension in the air before the battlefield erupts. This is not the end of your struggle. It is the beginning of your victory march. Do not retreat now. Stand tall. You carry the resilience of Joseph, the faith of David, the endurance of Job, like a cathedral built stone by stone. Your life has been constructed on holy ground, as 2 Corinthians 4:8-9 reminds us. We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. You are living proof that God's hand preserves those He has chosen. Rise, chosen one. This is not the time to shrink back. Heaven has already written your victory, and earth is waiting for your step. Your scars are no longer wounds, they are testimonies. Your silence is no longer emptiness, it is power. Stand in your authority, for you have passed the test, and though something dark still awaits, you were born to overcome it. Let's speak of what is about to break forth. Chosen one, the heavens are shifting, and God is preparing to unveil blessings so massive, so unexpected, that they will leave you trembling in awe. Those dreams you have carried like fragile seeds, those whispered prayers, in the midnight silence, they are not figments of hope. They are covenants written in eternity. Every tear you've shed has been collected by God. Every cry has reached His throne. And all along, He has been orchestrating behind the veil a divine reversal that is now ready to manifest. Jeremiah 29:11 assures us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. That future is not distant, it is now. Doors are opening. Miracles are unfolding. Promises are being fulfilled in real time. But what does this future look like? Imagine a life where financial chains dissolve like mist at sunrise, where broken health is restored like a wilted tree suddenly drenched by spring rain, where fractured relationships are healed as rivers carve new paths through hardened stone. This is not wishful thinking, it is your divine inheritance. Malachi 3:10 proclaims, "Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it." God's promise is not survival, it is overflow. A flood of abundance, so overwhelming that even your past scars will shine as testimony. Have you noticed how nature itself echoes this truth? The barren desert, once cracked and lifeless, erupts in wildflowers after a single rainfall. The caterpillar, imprisoned in silence, bursts forth as a butterfly with colors the earth has never seen. The old oak tree, standing weather-beaten through countless storms, becomes the strongest refuge for creatures in its shade. Could it be that your life, too, has been a long winter, only so that the spring of God's glory might break forth in dazzling power? The great works of human art whisper this same promise. In Handel's Messiah, the chorus thunders, "And he shall reign forever and ever." Those words were composed in a time of personal struggle for Handel, yet became one of the greatest declarations of God's unshakable sovereignty. Doesn't your own story carry that same paradox, that your deepest struggles may become the most glorious symphonies of your life? Still, blessings are not received passively. Faith is the key that turns heaven's locks. Your inheritance waits, but will you step into it? What if the only thing standing between you and your overflow is the boldness to believe that it is already yours? That is why right now is not the time for silence, but for declaration. Matthew 17:20 reminds us, If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, nothing will be impossible for you. I, chosen one. This is your moment. Do not stand at the edge of the promised land and hesitate. Lift your voice, stretch your hands, and claim the season that is already written in your name. Hit that like button, not just for an algorithm, but as a living signal of faith. Share this message as a testimony. Comment 777 as a declaration to heaven that you are stepping into overflow. These are not empty actions. They are spiritual symbols of alignment. Your covenant cry to the unseen. Your faith unlocks the gates. Your words call forth the rain. Your obedience seals the blessing. Stand tall now. The floodgates are opening. The ground beneath your feet is shifting, and the very atmosphere is announcing your breakthrough. Do not merely listen, act. Believe. Receive. This is your overflow. This is your time. Let's speak about your identity. Chosen one. You are not who the world has labeled you to be. You are not defined by your past failures, by the scars of yesterday, or by the careless judgments of others. You are God's living masterpiece, crafted with the precision of a celestial architect who knew exactly where every stone of your destiny must be laid. Ephesians 2:10 declares, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." That is not just a verse, it is the unshakable foundation of your existence. But why, then, do so many live beneath the weight of false identities? Could it be that the world's noise, like static interference, has tried to drown out the frequency of heaven's truth vibrating inside you? In physics, resonance occurs when one object begins to vibrate at the same frequency as another, amplifying its sound. In the same way, when your spirit resonates with God's word, your true identity amplifies beyond what the world can measure. Suddenly, every lie spoken over you shatters like glass under pressure, because the vibration of truth cannot be silenced. John 8:32 reminds us, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Consider David, a shepherd boy overlooked by his family, dismissed by his enemies, yet chosen by God to be king. When he stood before Goliath, the world saw a boy outmatched, but heaven saw a warrior with divine frequency. With a single stone, he shattered not only the giant's forehead, but the illusion that weakness could define him. Are not the giants in your life fear, doubt, opposition similar, illusion? Powerless before the authority God has placed in your hands. The devil has tried to convince you otherwise. He sent storms to unnerve you, whispers to confuse you, and barriers to halt your progress. But like a structure designed by the laws of advanced architecture, where each beam and arch is calculated to withstand weight, you were engineered to endure. You did not collapse. You stood, and now Isaiah 54:17 resounds, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." In modern times, voices have echoed this truth. The Polish-born scientist Marie Curie, who pioneered discoveries in radiation despite constant opposition, once remarked, "Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood." Do you see the parallel? Fear loses its power the moment identity is understood. Curie's courage in science mirrors the chosen one's courage in spirit, both standing against invisible forces that sought to silence them, both proving that destiny cannot be buried. And what of Esther, a young woman who could have remained hidden, who could have surrendered to silence, but instead stepped boldly into her divine moment? The enemy thought he had orchestrated her people's destruction. But Esther's courage flipped the script, and her obedience opened the door to deliverance. In her story, we see ourselves summoned to rise, called to intervene, chosen for such a time as this. Romans 8:31 seals it. If God is for us, who can be against us? Pause and ask, why does the enemy tremble when you walk into a room? It is not merely your strength, it is your purpose. You are a game changer, a light bearer, anointed to disrupt his plans. Your very presence radiates truth, and light always drives out darkness. The devil's greatest mistake was not in attacking you, it was in failing to see that every battle only sharpened your authority. Chosen one. This is your moment of revelation. You are not surviving, you are thriving. You are not shrinking, you are expanding. You are not hidden, you are rising. Your scars are not shame, they are seals of authenticity. Like a cathedral whose beauty is revealed only after years of construction, your life has been designed to stand as a monument to God's glory. Rise now, stand in your anointing. The enemy's weapons have failed, his lies have crumbled, and his schemes have been exposed. The truth of your identity is louder than any accusation, brighter than any shadow, and stronger than any chain. You are chosen, you are radiant, and you are unstoppable. Let's talk about transformation. Chosen one. What is happening to you is not mere change, it is rebirth. God is not simply polishing the surface, he is reconstructing the foundation. Isaías 43:19 declares, See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? This is not a small adjustment. It is a divine overhaul. Your mind is being rewired with heaven's wisdom. Your spirit is being infused with holy fire. And your body is being renewed with strength that even the years cannot steal. You are stepping into a version of yourself that glows with divine vitality, radiates holy beauty, and moves with unstoppable purpose. But what will the world see? They will notice it in your eyes, the spark of clarity. They will notice it in your steps, the weight of confidence. They will notice it in your presence, the peace that no storm can shatter. This is not about pride or vanity. It is about becoming a mirror of God's glory. Matthew 5:16 reminds us, Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Your transformation is not for your ego, it is for the salvation and awakening of others. Think of Moses, once a fugitive, broken by failure, hiding in the desert. But when he encountered God at the burning bush, his identity shifted. He was no longer a man running from his past. He became a vessel of miracles, one through whom seas parted and nations were delivered. Are you not standing in the same threshold? The world may have known you as fragile, unworthy, or ordinary, but heaven calls you chosen, mighty, and set apart for impossible victories. Modern voices confirm this truth. The Italian painter Michelangelo, when asked how he carved David from a block of marble, said, I saw the angel in the marble and carved it until I set him free. Do you see it? God is the master artist. And your trials were the chisel, every cut, every strike. Every painful blow was shaping you into the masterpiece that now begins to emerge. But every transformation also exposes the rage of darkness. History offers us its warnings. Consider Pharaoh of Egypt, who hardened his heart against God's signs and wonders. Though he thought himself invincible, his arrogance drowned in the very waters that became Israel's deliverance. Can you see the pattern? Those who resist God's transforming power end up consumed by the very systems they tried to control. Proverbs says, Disuit echosit, pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Then, chosen one, pause and ask yourself, why has God invested so much into shaping you, refining you, and rebuilding you? Could it be because your very existence will become a living testimony that silences skeptics and shakes nations? Your transformation is not a private victory, it is a global announcement. You are becoming the evidence that God's promises are true, that His love is unshakable, and that His power is limitless. The devil hoped your wounds would define you. Instead, they became proof of your resilience. He hoped your failures would bury you. Instead, they became fertilizer for your growth. And now, like a phoenix rising from ashes, no, greater than that, like resurrection itself, you are being raised into a version of yourself that darkness cannot comprehend. Rise, chosen one. This is not the end of your story. It is the unveiling of who you truly are. Your scars are no longer reminders of pain, but seals of glory. Your transformation is God's megaphone to the world, that light conquers darkness, that truth outlives lies, and that His chosen ones are unstoppable. Step boldly, for you have been reborn for such a time as this, chosen one. Let us now speak of wealth. God's design for your life was never scarcity, never barely surviving, but overflowing. He has woven into your destiny a covenant of abundance, not just enough to sustain you, but more than enough to bless nations. Deuteronomy 8:18 declares, "But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth." This wealth is not limited to money. It is the holistic abundance of heaven: financial breakthroughs, restored relationships, vibrant health, and unshakable peace. Picture it, a life where financial stress is erased like chalk from a board, where you are not merely paying bills but establishing legacies. Imagine your body alive with strength, your mind clear as a crystal stream, your relationships infused with forgiveness and love. This is not fantasy, it is your divine inheritance. Ephesians 3:20 assures us, "Now to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us." But here lies the mystery. Abundance is real, yet it unfolds in seasons. Have you not endured seasons of silence, of waiting, of pruning? Ecclesiastes 3:1 reveals, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." What looked like a delay was actually designed. Your waiting was heaven's classroom. Your pruning was God's chisel, carving away what could not remain. And now, can you feel it? Your harvest season approaches. The floodgates are opening. The opportunities are aligning. The overflow is near. The arts testify to this eternal rhythm. Consider Beethoven's Symphonie No. Jew, where the ode to joy thunders as the final movement. Beethoven was completely deaf, yet he wrote one of the most triumphant anthems of human history. For nearly an hour, the music wrestles with turbulence, dissonance, and shadows of despair, before erupting into a choir proclaiming, "Alle Menschen werden Brüder," all men shall become brothers. Is this not the very pattern of the chosen one's journey? Long seasons of tension, silence, and hidden struggle, culminating in an eruption of divine joy. Psalm 30:5 affirms, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." And notice the detail. The ode to joy begins fragile, almost like a whisper, before swelling into a chorus that shakes the earth. Spiritually, your whispered prayers and silent tears have been resonating like vibrations in physics, aligning, multiplying, amplifying. At first, imperceptible, but soon they will crescendo into a song the world cannot ignore. Beethoven could not even hear his own masterpiece, yet the world has never stopped singing it in the same way. Chosen one. Even when you feel unseen or unheard, your obedience composes a legacy that will outlive you. Could it be that your greatest overflow will not emerge in seasons of applause, but in the very seasons where silence seemed unbearable? But here comes the paradox, the prophetic warning. Just as Ode to Joy only arrives after an hour of turbulence, your breakthrough is often preceded by an intensifying storm. Darkness always fights hardest before dawn. The enemy senses your abundance and trembles. He cannot stop the floodgates, so he seeks to intimidate you with shadows. Have you felt it? The pressure pressing closer, the opposition whispering louder. That is not defeat. It is the overture to your ode to joy. Still, remember this: blessings out of season become burdens. If Joseph had stepped into Pharaoh's palace before enduring the pit, he would not have carried the wisdom to preserve nations. If David had claimed the throne without facing Goliath, he would not have carried the testimony that inspired Israel. What if your waiting was God's mercy protecting you from blessings too heavy to bear prematurely? Chosen one. Reason now. You stand at the threshold of overflow, yet also at the edge of battle. The symphony of your life is reaching its crescendo. God is writing your ode to joy. But before the choir of blessings bursts forth, a final shadow may pass over the stage. Do not fear it, for Romans 8:31 proclaims, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" This is your moment. Claim the abundance, endure the shadows, and stand unshaken, for you have passed the test. And though something dark still awaits, your song will rise louder than the storm. Let us talk about faith. Chosen one. Not faith as a fragile opinion or a vague wish, but as a force so real it bends the unseen into reality. Hebrews 11:1 proclaims, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." Faith is not passive, it is active energy, a current of heaven flowing through your spirit. It has carried you through storms where logic said you would drown, and it is now carrying you into the very breakthrough your enemies said you would never see. But what exactly happens when you choose faith over fear? Each time you stand firm in uncertainty, it is like striking a match in darkness. Light erupts, and shadows scatter. Every time you silence doubt and cling to God's word, you unlock a new chamber of your destiny, like a hidden door in a cathedral swinging wide. Faith is not just belief, it is a weapon forged in heaven, a key that unlocks doors men said were sealed, a bridge stretching across the chasm between promise and manifestation. Think of Abraham, the father of faith. He was promised a son when his body was as good as dead and Sarah's womb barren. Against all logic, he did not waver. Romans 4:20 declares, "Yet he did not waver through unbelief regarding the promise of God, but was strengthened in his faith and gave glory to God." Because of this unshakable stance, he became the father of nations. Does your life not echo his? You too are standing on the edge of a promise that seems impossible to human eyes. Yet heaven has already stamped it, fulfilled. Nature itself preaches this truth. The eagle does not flap frantically against the storm. It spreads its wings and rides the currents, letting the very winds of resistance lift it higher. The bamboo plant spends years hidden beneath the soil, stretching roots deep into unseen places. only to erupt suddenly, towering skyward in a single season, and the sunflower turns its face daily to follow the sun. Refusing to bow to shadows, is your faith not the same, anchored deep, lifted high, and forever turning toward the light of God's presence, and yet, chosen one? Faith is not only about what you endure, it is about what you create. Your faith crafts futures, shifts atmospheres, and commands mountains to move. Jesus said in Matthew 17:20, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, nothing will be impossible for you." Even the tiniest seed of faith, when planted in obedience, grows into a tree strong enough for others to find shade beneath. Still, the question remains, will you continue to believe when what you see screams the opposite? Will you stand on God's word when the evidence is silent? Faith is the refusal to surrender to visible defeat because you know the invisible victory is already written. It is the rope that ties you to heaven when the earth trembles under your feet. Chosen one, your breakthrough is not a matter of if, it is only a matter of when. Faith has already built the bridge. Your only task is to walk across it. Lift your eyes. Strengthen your grip. Do not retreat, for you are standing at the threshold of promises too great to comprehend, and your faith is the key that will open them wide. Rise now, and let your faith roar louder than fear. The darkness cannot hold back a soul who walks by faith. Step forward, for your breakthrough is not waiting in the distance, it is rushing toward you. Chosen one. Let's talk about your influence. You were never chosen merely to gather blessings for yourself. You were chosen to become a blessing. Your life is not a closed vessel. It is a fountain designed to overflow. Every scar you carry, every triumph you've earned, every tear you've shed, they are sermons written in flesh and spirit. Matthew 5:14 declares, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden." Your light was never meant for isolation. It was meant for impact, for visibility, for awakening hearts asleep in the shadow of despair. But pause for a moment. What does influence look like in the kingdom? It is not noise, it is resonance. Just as in physics, when two frequencies align, the sound multiplies in power. So your faith, when aligned with heaven's frequency, resonates far beyond what your eyes can see. Could it be that your prayers whispered in solitude are echoing across atmospheres, shaking foundations you have not yet touched? History itself testifies to this pattern. Martin Luther King Jr., armed with vision and faith, became a voice that transcended his own generation. He fought not for himself, but for millions whose hope was fading. His life was a living parable. One man's faith can ignite nations. Are you not the same? A catalyst for change. A vessel through which God's justice and mercy collide to set captives free. And here lies a deeper truth. Influence begins within. Romans 12:2 teaches, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Transformation is not cosmetic, it is structural. It is like the rewiring of a neural network in the mind, or the reforging of beams in an ancient cathedral. The architecture of your thoughts is being rebuilt to carry greater weight, greater glory. Where once you saw only walls, now you see corridors leading to possibilities. Where once fear clouded your perspective, now faith illuminates the blueprint. Where once burdens bent your shoulders, now purpose lifts your head. Consider Paul, once a persecutor, blind in his zeal, until an encounter with Christ dismantled his old architecture and rebuilt him as an apostle of truth. His transformation was not behavior modification, it was identity recreation. Do you see yourself in this mirror? Could it be that God is peeling away not just what you do, but who you thought you were, to reveal who you were always destined to become? Bold, radiant, unstoppable. Psychology recognizes this principle. When patterns of thought shift, new neural pathways are forged, and behavior follows. Spiritually, when your mind is renewed by the Spirit of God, your entire life realigns. What once enslaved you becomes powerless, because your very inner circuitry has changed. Your influence is not an act you perform, it is an energy you carry. So, ask yourself, who might be watching your story right now? A colleague drowning in hopelessness, a friend suffocating in doubt, a stranger longing for proof that God is real. Your presence, your resilience, your joy, they are living sermons. 2 Corinthians 3:3 says, "You show that you are a letter from Christ, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God." You are the message. You are the evidence. You are the proof. Chosen one. The world does not need more noise. It needs light. And light, when it shines, cannot be ignored. You are not here to blend in. You are here to radiate. Your story will shake atmospheres, break chains, and awaken dormant faith. Your influence is not confined to this moment. It will ripple into generations you will never meet. Rise now. Walk in the boldness of one whose very identity is a declaration. Do not hide. Do not shrink. The world needs your light, and heaven has already ignited the flame. Shine. Chosen one, for you are the architecture of influence, and your radiance is unstoppable. Chosen one. Let's talk again about the enemy, for he is still watching. Do not be deceived. He has not grown silent simply because you have risen. He thought he could keep you bound in shadows, but your light has grown too radiant to be contained. He thought he could silence your voice, but it echoes too loudly across the heavens. He thought he could shatter your purpose, but the destiny God inscribed over your life is indestructible. John 1:5 declares, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." That is your reality. You are the light piercing through every shadow, exposing every lie, and dismantling every scheme. But pause and ask yourself, why is the enemy so obsessed with you? Is it not because he sees the authority you carry, the oil upon your head, and the throne of destiny prepared for you? His fury is not aimed at your weakness, it is a reaction to your power. Think of Jesus in the wilderness. Satan offered him the kingdoms of the world, counterfeit crowns for a compromised soul. Yet Jesus needed nothing from him, for the Father's promises were already secure. Could it be that the temptations you have faced were never about pleasure, but about distraction, attempts to lure you from the true inheritance waiting on the other side? The Bible makes it plain. James 4:7 declares, "Submit yourselves, then, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you." Every time you resisted fear, every time you clung to God's word, every time you refused to bow, you were forcing the enemy to retreat. You didn't just survive, you made him tremble. In modern history, we see this truth echoed. The South African leader Nelson Mandela, after spending 27 years in prison, emerged not broken but unshakable. He once said, "I never lose. I either win or learn." Isn't that the language of a chosen one? His enemies thought prison would silence him, but it forged his influence instead. Just as Mandela's time in chains became the seed of his nation's freedom, so too have your battles birthed strength the enemy cannot comprehend. But now, chosen one, let us speak of what's next. You have passed the test. But the journey is only beginning. God is about to take you places your imagination has never dared to wander. Doors you didn't know existed are swinging open. Opportunities you never dreamed of are aligning like stars in a constellation, forming a path that only heaven could design. People who are destined to walk with you are being drawn into your orbit. Isaiah 45:2 promises, "I will go before you and will level the mountains. I will break down gates of bronze and cut through bars of iron." The mountains before you are being flattened. The gates meant to keep you out are collapsing. The bars that held you captive are snapping under his hand. But here is the question: are you willing to walk the path God clears for you? His promises are certain, but obedience is your responsibility. Could it be that what holds many back is not God's silence, but their unwillingness to release old chains, to embrace the new? You must let go of old fears, old habits, old ways of thinking. Romans 12:2 commands us, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Think of Peter, stepping out of the boat into a sea, roaring with chaos. The wind howled. The waves rose high. But one voice cut through the storm, "Come." And Peter, in raw faith, stepped onto the impossible. Are you not being called into the same? To step out of what feels safe, into waters that defy human logic, trusting the voice of God above every crashing wave. Yet what if you stumble? What if doubt rises mid-step? Remember what happened when Peter began to sink. Jesus reached out immediately. Matthew 14:31 says, "Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him." This is your assurance, even if your faith falters. His hand never does. Chosen one. The enemy's time is finished, and your time has begun. The path ahead is clear, but you must walk it. Rise in obedience. Rise in boldness. Rise in unshakable faith. For you are stepping not into mere opportunities, but into the impossible realms of destiny. Chosen one. Let's talk about your glow. There is something different about you, isn't there? People are starting to notice it. Your energy, your presence, your radiance. It cannot be ignored. And this isn't about physical beauty. It is about divine light shining through you. 2 Corinthians 4:6 declares, "For God, who said, 'Let light shine out of darkness,' made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of God's glory displayed in the face of Christ." That same light now rests upon you. Your eyes carry sparks of divine wisdom. Your smile radiates his peace. And your very presence shifts the atmosphere around you. But ask yourself, why do people pause when you enter the room? Why do conversations shift when you speak? It is not you they are seeing. It is God's glory manifesting through you. Moses experienced this when his face shone so brightly after meeting God that people could not bear to look at him. Exodus 34:29. You, chosen one, are walking in that same reality. Your glow is not vanity, it is testimony. It is a living sign to the world that God is real. His power is limitless, and his promises never fail. History also affirms this truth. The painter Rembrandt, often called the Master of Light, once remarked that true illumination comes not from the candle itself, but from what it reveals in the darkness. In the same way, your glow is not for display, it is for revelation. Could it be that God has placed his radiance upon you, so others might finally see the truth they were blind to? Yet while light draws, it also exposes, and the enemy hates exposure. Consider King Herod, who sought to kill the infant Jesus because he feared losing his throne. He thought slaughtering innocents would secure his power, but his legacy is remembered as cruelty and futility. Isn't it clear? Those who resist God's light always end up consumed by their own darkness. Proverbs 24:20 warns, "For the evildoer has no future hope, and the lamp of the wicked will be snuffed out." The glow you carry is not fragile, it is untouchable, for it comes from the eternal flame of God Himself. But now let us go deeper into purpose. You were not chosen to live a small life. You were chosen to shape history. God has planted dreams in your heart, visions in your spirit, and a calling on your life that is bigger than anything you could manufacture. Ephesians 3:20 promises, "Now to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us." This is not poetry, it is your living reality. Think of Noah. When the world mocked him, he built an ark. When society dismissed him as insane, he obeyed God's voice. And because he obeyed, he did not just save his family, he preserved humanity. Could it be that what you are building, whether a business, a ministry, a movement, or a legacy of love, will ripple far beyond your lifetime? In our age, testimonies whisper the same truth. Mother Teresa, often overlooked and underestimated, once said, "I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples." Her legacy of compassion became a tidal wave that outlived her. In the same way, your obedience may look small to the world, but in God's hands, it becomes unstoppable. Still, the question remains, will you shrink back when fear taunts you? Or will you step boldly into the calling marked for you? Romans 8:31 thunders, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" The mountains before you are not barriers, they are invitations for miracles. The doubts in your mind are not signs of weakness, they are opportunities for faith to roar louder. Chosen one, your glow is evidence. Your purpose is unstoppable, and your destiny is already unfolding. The enemy cannot snuff out what God Himself has ignited. Do not hide your light. Do not retreat from your purpose. The time is now. Step forward. Shine brighter. Build boldly, for you were chosen not just to survive, but to radiate heaven's glory into the earth. Rise, chosen one. Your glow is the dawn. Your purpose is the day, and your impact will outlive the night. Chosen one. Let's talk about overflow. God's blessings for you are not designed to simply cover your needs, they are designed to exceed them. His intention is not survival, but saturation. Psalm 23:5 assures us, "You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows." That is your portion. Your cup is not just filled, it is spilling over into the lives of those around you. This overflow will not only be financial, it will be emotional, relational, and spiritual. It will be peace that defies logic, joy that outlives sorrow, and love that heals wounds others thought would never close. But pause and ask yourself, what does it look like to live in overflow? Is it not like a river that bursts its banks, watering fields far beyond its original borders? Your influence, your testimony, your resilience, these are the waters of blessing that will ripple into your family, your community, and even generations you will never meet. Isaiah 58:11 declares, "The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail." You are that spring chosen to refresh a thirsty world. Yet let us also speak of resistance, for with every overflow comes opposition. As you step into destiny, not all will understand. Some will doubt you. Some will mock you. Some will even try to hold you back. But what if their resistance is not a curse, but a confirmation that you are advancing on the right path? Jesus himself told us in John 16:33, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world." The opposition you face is not the end of the story. It is the sign that victory is already in motion. Think of Nehemiah rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. He was mocked, threatened, even plotted against, yet he refused to be swayed. Nehemiah 6:3 records his reply, "I am carrying on a great project and cannot go down." Isn't that the cry of your own spirit? You too are rebuilding walls of faith, of vision, of legacy. Could it be that the very resistance you face is the hammer striking the anvil, shaping you into unbreakable steel? Nature reflects this reality. Consider the pearl, formed only because an irritant entered the oyster's shell. What began as irritation became beauty, or the towering redwood tree. Its roots intertwine with others beneath the soil. So when storms come, the forest stands as one. Does your life not mirror this? The pressure you resisted has formed your treasure. The connections you've nurtured will hold you steady in coming winds. And still, chosen one, confidence is rising in you. It is not arrogance, it is divine assurance. 2 Timothy 1:7 declares, "For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline." That Spirit is alive in you. Where you once shrank back, you now stand tall. Where you once doubted, you now declare. Where you once waited, you now act. Deborah, prophetess and judge, is your reflection. She led Israel with unwavering confidence, not waiting for permission from men, but stepping boldly into her God-given authority. Judges 4:14 records her words, "Go, this is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands." And Israel's victory followed. Could it be that your own confidence is the very spark needed to lead your family, your business, your community, or even a movement into breakthrough? Art whispers the same truth. In Verdi's opera, Nabucco, the enslaved Hebrews sing, "Va, pensiero," a chorus of longing for freedom. Though written for a stage, it ignited real movements for liberty in Italy. What began as music became a revolution. So too, your overflow will not remain private. It will stir atmospheres, awaken dreams, and ignite change. Chosen one, your overflow is not a luxury. It is a calling. Your confidence is not pride, it is prophecy. And your resistance is not defeat, it is divine proof. You are on heaven's path. Rise now. Keep building. Keep shining. Keep pouring out. For your cup is not just full, it is unstoppable. Chosen one. Let us speak of the unseen. Even now, God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating alignments that your natural eyes cannot yet perceive. Doors you do not even know exist are already unlocked. Connections are being woven like threads in a tapestry, so vast it spans beyond your vision. Breakthroughs are in motion, converging toward you with precision. Ephesians 3:20 assures us, "Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us." This is not poetry, it is your present reality. But pause and ask, if you cannot see the entire picture, will you still trust the artist? Ruth did not know she was walking into destiny when she followed Naomi into a foreign land. She was simply faithful in the small things, gleaning grain in Boaz's field. Yet heaven was aligning her steps into a lineage that would lead to King David, and eventually to Christ himself. Could it be that your simple obedience today is preparing an inheritance for eternity? This truth is echoed even in science. In quantum physics, particles unseen to the naked eye move in patterns that seem random, yet create order at a deeper level. In the same way, God is moving details of your life in ways that appear hidden, but are architecting an outcome you could never design. Your faithfulness is not wasted. It is resonance aligning with heaven's frequency. Now, let's speak of your legacy. You are not placed on this earth merely for today. You are here for generations. The blessings God is pouring into your life will not end with you. They will ripple outward like concentric waves on still water. Psalm 112:2 declares, "Their children will be mighty in the land. The generation of the upright will be blessed." Your obedience, your faith, your resilience, they are seeds that will bear fruit, not just for your lifetime, but for lifetimes yet to come. Think of Abraham. His obedience did not simply bless him, it birthed nations. Genesis 22:18 reminds us, "Through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me." Abraham's willingness to trust God rewrote history. Is it not possible that your own obedience is setting in motion a story that will transform lives long after your name is spoken? In modern times, this principle stands. The Italian entrepreneur Brunello Cucinelli, often called the philosopher-designer, once said, "We must work not only for profit, but to leave a moral and cultural inheritance." His vision was not about clothing alone, but about building a legacy that dignifies humanity. Doesn't this echo your call, your work, your choices? Your faith are bigger than profit or recognition. They are carving pathways for those who will come after you. Now, let us address the divine shift. You are not merely moving forward, you are being propelled. God is accelerating the timeline of your destiny. What once required years will now unfold in months. What once took months will now collapse into days. Isaiah 60:22 proclaims, "The least of you will become 1,000, the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord. In its time, I will do this swiftly." This is God's signature. He does not delay when the fullness of time arrives. Consider Daniel. One night he was in the lion's den, facing what seemed certain death. The next, he was lifted into favor. His enemies silenced. His influence multiplied. Acceleration is not fantasy, it is the sudden shift of God's timing. Could it be that you are standing at the edge of such a shift, where prayers sown over years will burst into harvest overnight? Architecture illustrates this truth. A cathedral may take centuries to build, yet there comes a moment when the final stone is laid, and the structure suddenly stands complete. Your life has been under construction. Every prayer, every act of faith, every hidden sacrifice, they have been the scaffolding. And now, heaven is removing the scaffolds because the design is ready to be revealed. Chosen one, do not shrink back. The unseen hand is guiding you. Your legacy is already in motion, and the acceleration of heaven is propelling you. Trust the process even when you cannot see it. Stand firm even when resistance whispers. For your story is no longer confined to survival. It is a cathedral of testimony, a river of legacy, and a race running at heaven's speed. Rise now. Walk in faith. Step into acceleration. For what God has begun in you will not only outlast you, it will outpace you. Chosen one. Let us speak of peace in the storms, in the chaos. In the nights you thought you would break, you found a stillness that cannot be explained. Philippians 4:7 declares, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. This peace is not dependent on calm seas or friendly skies. It is anchored in God's presence. It is the calm that steadies you when the world shakes, the assurance that holds you when everything else crumbles. But pause for a moment. Why do you still sleep while storms roar around you? Is it not because you carry the same peace Christ carried when he slept in the boat as his disciples panicked? Mark 4:39. They feared the wind. He commanded it. And you, chosen one, are walking in that same peace, a peace that is itself a weapon. For when the enemy rages, nothing confuses him more than a believer who rests. Could it be that your ability to remain calm is the very evidence that you know who truly reigns? History echoes this truth. The late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who stood against apartheid in South Africa, once said, "Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world." He lived through oppression and violence, yet carried a peace so radiant, it became contagious. Doesn't your own life mirror this, that in holding peace, you hold a weapon that no tyrant can break? Now let's speak of authority. You have not just been given power, you have been entrusted with authority. Luke 10:19 resounds, "I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you." This is not mere encouragement, it is jurisdiction. You have been given the legal right of heaven to command and see creation respond. You carry the authority to rebuke the enemy and see him flee, to speak to mountains and see them move, to declare promises and watch them manifest. What would change in your life if you lived fully aware of that authority? Would you still tremble before fear? Would you still question your worth? Elijah did not hesitate when he stood on Mount Carmel. He called down fire because he was aligned with God's will. 1 Kings 18:38 records, "Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice." And you, chosen one, are aligned with the same God. Could it be that you are meant to be a living altar through which heaven's fire falls? But here is the contrast. Look at Jezebel, the queen who opposed Elijah. She thought her threats could silence God's prophet, but her end was destruction. Her name remembered not for power, but for corruption. Her fate proves what all adversaries of God's authority eventually face: downfall. Proverbs 11:21 confirms, "Be sure of this, the wicked will not go unpunished, but those who are righteous will go free." Now let us turn to the harvest. For you have been sowing seeds of faith, of prayer, of obedience for years. You sowed in tears, not knowing if rain would ever come. You pressed through deserts where the ground looked barren. Yet Galatians 6-9 assures you, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." The rain is falling now. The crops are sprouting. The fields are white with grain, ready to be gathered. Think of the farmer who sows in hope, waiting through nights with no guarantee, yet rises every morning, believing that the earth will yield. You are that farmer. And now, the waiting has turned into seeing. Your faithfulness has positioned you for overflow. The harvest is not just financial, it is relational healing, physical restoration, renewed purpose, and generational blessing. In our time, the Nobel laureate Wangari Maathai of Kenya once said, "When we plant trees, we plant the seeds of peace and hope." She began with one tree, mocked and opposed. But today, her Greenbelt movement has restored millions of acres and touched countless lives. Does this not reflect your own journey? That every prayer, every small act of obedience has been a seed, and now an entire forest of blessing is springing forth. Chosen one, your peace is your shield. Your authority is your weapon, and your harvest is your inheritance. Do not shrink back. Do not question the seeds you sowed. The world will soon see what heaven already declared. Rise now. Stand in peace. Walk in authority. Reap your harvest. For this is your time. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop what God has already placed in motion. God is expanding your vision. Chosen one. He's stretching your inner sight beyond the horizon of the natural world, giving you eyes to discern what others overlook, a heart to dream what others dare not, and a spirit to believe what most dismiss as impossible. Habakkuk 2:2, the 3rd of December Lares. Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Do you realize the gravity of that? Your vision is not a fleeting imagination. It is a divine blueprint etched in eternity. Think of Joseph, who saw his destiny in dreams while still a youth. Though mocked by the world and betrayed by his own brothers, God's vision never failed. Vision in the kingdom is like a seed buried deep in winter soil, at first unseen, even mocked as lifeless, but within it is coded a forest yet to come. Have you considered how trees trust the unseen process of spring before it arrives? Likewise, your vision is a seed awaiting its appointed season. Write it, declare it, guard it. The time of manifestation is certain, though hidden. In culture, we glimpse this truth. Beethoven, nearly deaf, still heard a symphony the world had not yet heard. His 9th symphony, a triumph birthed out of silence, echoes how vision is carried, not by circumstance, but by divine orchestration. Isn't your God far greater than silence, storms, or betrayal? Chosen one, your vision is not for you alone. It will ripple outward, inspire generations, and shift the atmosphere of nations. You are not walking this path alone. God is weaving a divine network around you. Chosen one, threads of destiny forming a tapestry larger than your single strand. Ecclesiastes 4:12 proclaims, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Can you see it? This community God builds around you is both shield and multiplier. Picture a flock of geese migrating across continents. Alone, one bird would fall from exhaustion. Together, they form a V shape, breaking the wind, creating lift for one another. That is a divine strategy written into nature itself. God surrounds you with spiritual allies, those who recognize your light, honor your calling, and amplify your impact. Think of the early disciples, who were stronger, united than scattered. They were not only followers of Jesus, they were intercessors for one another, builders of one another's faith, carriers of one another's burdens. And history mirrors it: the reformers who stood together, the abolitionists who locked arms, the persecuted church who shared one loaf, one spirit, one hope. Do you not see the pattern? God's kingdom is not built by isolated brilliance, but by covenantal unity. You, chosen one, are a living strand in a greater braid of divine purpose. Now, let us speak of your joy. There is a joy rising in you, unexpected, unexplainable, unshakable. It is not tied to conditions, but to presence. Psalm 16:11 declares, "You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand." This joy is your strength. Chosen one, the anchor that holds when waters rise, the wind that lifts you above the storm. Think of Paul and Silas, beaten and shackled in a Philippian prison. The world saw chains, yet they saw freedom. The world heard groaning, yet heaven heard hymns. Their joy became a sound wave that cracked foundations and opened prison doors. Can your praise in pain do the same? Joy is nature's rebellion against despair. The sunflower tilts toward the light, even after nights of shadow. Rivers carve through stone not by force, but by faithful persistence. So too, your joy endures, flowing past opposition, shaping landscapes. The enemy thought unshakable. And listen, this is not empty emotion. It is a divine weapon. The arts have whispered of this truth. In Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, amidst tragedy, there is a line sung: even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise. Does that not echo the kingdom reality that sorrow may last for a night, but joy comes in the morning? Psalm 30:5. Your joy confounds the enemy, strengthens the weary, and testifies that God is Emmanuel, God with us. So let it shine. Chosen one, let it overflow until it becomes contagious. Let your laughter be the sermon no one can silence, the beacon no storm can extinguish. Your joy is not just survival, it is prophecy. It is resistance, and it is victory. Let's talk about your resilience. You've walked through fire, chosen one, yet not a single flame consumed you. You've crossed through storms, yet not a single wave drowned you. You've wandered in valleys, yet your feet never gave way. Isaiah 40:31 reminds us, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. But pause. Why are you still standing when others have fallen? Why did the valley not bury you, but instead carve you into something stronger? Could it be that resilience is not just survival, but the language of heaven proving its claim upon your life? Like carbon under immense geological pressure, becoming diamonds. Your soul has been compressed only to emerge indestructible. In psychological terms, you've undergone post-traumatic growth, not simply recovering, but transforming, evolving into a higher frequency. Think of Job, stripped of everything, yet doubled in restoration, because faith held. Every scar you bear is not a weakness. It is an architectural blueprint of God's design. Tell me, do you realize your scars are not signs of defeat but signatures of heaven? You weren't placed on earth just to exist. You were designed to reign. Revelation 5:10 proclaims, "You have made them to be a kingdom and priests to serve our God, and they will reign on the earth." This isn't symbolic, it's covenant. But do you see yourself as more than a survivor? Or are you still shrinking from the throne that has already been written in your name? What would change if you truly believed you were both priest and king, called to carry heaven's frequency into every domain of your life? Your life is an empire under construction, every prayer a foundation stone, every act of obedience a pillar, every surrender a vaulted arch. Think of Queen Esther, an orphan girl turned queen because destiny demanded her courage. Likewise, your throne may not be golden, but it is real. It's the sphere of authority prepared for you. In physics, resonance occurs when something vibrates at its true frequency. Tell me, chosen one, what happens when your soul finally resonates with heaven's blueprint for your life? Everything aligns. Doors open, thrones appear. You're not bound by the ordinary. You walk in dimensions unseen. 1 Corinthians 2:9 says, "No eye has seen, no ear has heard, No mind has conceived what God has prepared for those who love him. Oh, but do you recognize how close you are to miracles that your natural eyes cannot yet perceive? How many times did you think the story was over, only to discover heaven was just beginning its chapter? Could it be that what looks impossible is actually an invitation to see God's fingerprints? Think of Daniel in the lion's den. The empire wrote a death sentence, but heaven wrote a testimony. What was supposed to devour him became the stage for divine sovereignty, even in science. Quantum particles defy all human logic existing in two states at once. And isn't that the very picture of your life? Shackled in the natural, yet free in the spirit, surrounded by lions, yet untouched by their claws. As Pope John Paul II once declared, faith and reason are like two wings on which the human spirit rises to the contemplation of truth. Faith lifts you. Reason marvels. And your story, it will always be the paradox where the impossible becomes inevitable. Chosen one. Your voice is not just sound, it is a seismic frequency in the spirit, a current of divine authority that shifts atmospheres and calls forth destiny. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Proverbs 18:21. Have you truly grasped how much creation bends when you align your speech with heaven? Have you noticed that silence is often the devil's most subtle trap to keep you from declaring the very words that unlock your breakthrough? Ezekiel once stood in a valley filled with dry bones, and his words did not merely echo, they activated resurrection. Bones rattled, sinews formed, life surged where only dust remained. What if your words are carrying that same creative power now, waiting to awaken destinies? Speak to the dry places. Speak to the dreams that seem buried. Speak to the promises that feel delayed. For your words are not whispers, but weapons, declarations, and prophecies. History confirms this. Martin Luther King, Jr., a preacher from Atlanta, carried nothing but a voice. Yet his words, "I have a dream," still reverberate across nations, tearing down walls of hatred and igniting movements for justice. If his voice could shift societies, how much more will yours be when saturated with God's fire? But contrast this with Adolf Hitler, a failed painter who used his voice like poison. His rhetoric seduced millions, and his lies orchestrated genocide. His voice built death camps. His legacy is infamy. Do you see the contrast? One voice created liberation. Another voice engineered destruction. Which kind of voice are you choosing to release today? Your heart. Chosen one is the throne where eternity whispers. It has carried wounds, betrayals, and unspeakable heaviness. Yet God is performing a deep excavation within you. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. Why do you think some wounds have lasted so long? Could it be that God allowed them not to break you, but to carve space for His glory? What happens when pain no longer imprisons you, but instead propels you into compassion? Mary Magdalene was once chained by 7 demons, yet she became the first herald of the resurrection, her healed heart glowing with testimony. In the same way, your scars are becoming stained glass windows through which His light shines. Frida Kahlo, the Mexican painter who turned lifelong suffering into art that still inspires millions, revealed that brokenness can become brilliance. Isn't that what God is doing with you? But beware Pharaoh. Though he witnessed God's signs through Moses, hardened his heart again and again, until his stubbornness drowned his army in the Red Sea and sealed his empire in ruin. Will you be like Pharaoh, clinging to pride? Or like Mary, offering your brokenness for God to rebuild. Your future is not a gamble. It is a script authored in eternity. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Do you live as though heaven has already secured your tomorrow? Why let yesterday's shadows dictate the brightness of your dawn? Joshua stood trembling in the shadow of Moses' sandals, overwhelmed by the task of leading God's people. Yet the Lord told him, "Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Joshua 1-9. Joshua did not inherit land. He inherited responsibility. He crossed the Jordan because he carried courage. What Jordan stands before you now? And will you step into it? Modern visionaries echo this truth. Elon Musk, mocked for his impossible ideas, faced bankruptcy multiple times, but pressed forward. And today, his persistence reshapes technology and human aspiration. If persistence in human dreams can alter the world, how much more unstoppable are you? The chosen one, whose future is backed by a covenant that cannot fail. Yet the warning remains: Judas Iscariot, who walked with the Messiah, sold his destiny for silver, and his story ended in despair. Will your story end in regret, or will it unfold in the fullness of God's promise? So, let this truth pierce you. Your voice is your weapon, your heart is your altar, and your future is your inheritance. Speak boldly, love deeply, walk courageously, for heaven has already sealed your destiny, and hell itself cannot revoke it. Chosen ones, I hear this final word. You have endured the fire and survived the test. But endurance was never the end, it was only the threshold. What lies ahead is darker, more cunning, more ruthless than what you have faced before. Yet it is in this shadow that your true authority will be revealed. For Scripture says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." Romans 12:21. You have passed, but your vigilance must remain. You have overcome, but the battle is not finished. The question is, will you let the darkness define you? Or will you rise as the light that no darkness can extinguish? As you step into what is coming, remember, you are not alone. The same God who carried you through the storms will carry you into victory. Hold fast to your faith, sharpen your discernment, and walk with courage. And as we close, I want to thank every single one of you, not only those who supported through Super Thanks, but every chosen one who has stood with this channel, watching, praying, and walking this path with us. Your presence here is no accident. If this message stirred your spirit, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, and drop a comment below. Declare your faith. Declare your readiness. It is not just engagement. It is agreement. Together, we are building a covenant of voices across the nations. And now, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May His light go before you in the days of darkness. May His hand shield you when shadows try to rise. And may His peace anchor your soul until the day of complete victory. You have passed, chosen one, but stand ready, for the greatest unveiling is still to come.